Greetings everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Alexander Whitkin, and today I'm going to be talking about how I got ripped. The number one key to making gains in bodybuilding, really anything, body, mind, body, spirit, is consistency. Showing up all the time, even when you don't feel like it, and training and making the gains. And there's gonna be roadblocks along the way, there's gonna be hurdles, but you gotta make momentum. You gotta create momentum and create the habit, establish the habit in your life so that you can make the gains that you really wanna make. And you'll be surprised at how fast and quickly you notice changes. So guys, this journey that you're on of starting your fitness journey, if that's where you're at, or you're somewhere in the middle of it, is an amazing one. So keep at it. Keep going, and you're gonna be so stoked with your gains. Hey guys, so just a super quick intermission. If you enjoy my content, please just take a moment to like, comment, subscribe. It means the world to me. Thank you so much. Back to the video. There is no one pathway that will get you ripped per se. There's many. So there's so many different ways, but across all different paths, there are some very key components. Like I mentioned already, consistency is the most important thing. And I would say the second most important thing that you need to be mindful of is your form, your technique. Because if you are doing exercises with poor posture, poor form, you will see gains over time no matter what if you're training. This bad form is gonna kind of mutilate your body and get you trapped into poor form, poor posture, and nobody wants that. So the most important thing to be mindful of when you're training is your form. So it's quality over quantity. When you do things with good form, usually it's harder actually, because you're not compensating and mutilating your body in a certain way to make your body able to do more reps. So you're actually gonna be able to probably do less reps when you're doing good form, which in a way is nice because then you get gains faster with less effort. And it's functional, and it's gonna set you up for long-term gains so that you don't end up locking yourself up into a ball of pain. I know a lot about this because I was training very hard in the gym around 2014 to 2016, and while I looked really great and I was pretty ripped, when you actually looked at my posture and my form, in a lot of ways, while I actually thought it was good, it actually wasn't. And I just realized that if you don't fix your posture and your form before you start really training hard, you're setting yourself up for a lot of pain. No one wants to be in pain. I'm a massage therapist. I help people alleviate their bodies, alleviate tension, and you don't want to get yourself in that space of being constantly sore. So I really encourage, before you even start getting super serious with your weight training regimen, do yoga, okay? Or at least while you're doing it, make sure you're having days that are just dedicated to stretching, heart opening the chest, expanding the chest, stretching every part of the body really, but primarily you want your chest to be open, you want your spine to be straight, you want your hips to be aligned and not flaring out either backwards or too forwards. This is very key for the longevity of your training. So if there's anything you take away from this video, it is make sure that you are having optimal form while you train. So consistency, form. Number 3 is nutrition, your input. So everything really comes down to input and output if you want to make it super simple. So what you're putting into your body and then what you are outputting, what are you using your energy for? So obviously you get really fat when you eat tons of food, more than you need, and you're not really exercising, you're just sitting around and being pretty stagnant and lethargic. That's how people gain weight. Or some people have problems with being really skinny where they're hardly eating and not training, and that was kind of what I used to be. And I'm gonna show you photos of me when I was 15, 16 years old, and I was a scrawny kid growing up. So this is really what inspired me and to get fit and to start my fitness journey. And this is where I'm gonna go into really sharing what my journey looks like, starting from when I first started training at age 15 and how that kind of progressed. And so I'm gonna share little clips of me, and throughout this video, just, you can get a visual of where I came from and what my journey looked like. My fitness journey began when I did P90X. I was very driven and excited to get ripped when I was like 15 or 16. Actually 15. It kind of started when I was 14 a little bit, and then by the time but I didn't quite have the discipline, and I wasn't consistent. And by the time I was 15, I was really determined, and I told myself, I'm gonna do this, so let's do P90X. And if you don't know what P90X, it is pretty much just a workout regimen with this guy, Tony Horton, who I really love him. He really created a great foundation for me in my training. A lot of what I do to this day, especially my ab routine, is very similar to ab ripper X from P90X. I just knew that would kickstart me. I didn't feel like having to go and research all the different movements and then go to the gym. I had a few dumbbells at home, and so I got started with P90X and just followed along, and the journey was amazing. I actually created a YouTube channel. Maybe at some point I will share my original videos that I posted when I was like 15, 16. And I kind of documented my journey from day 1 to day 90, and I had little obstacles and slip ups here and there. I was in high school, and it was kind of hard to stay super consistent, but I did stay consistent, and I did a good job. It was a really great way to kickstart my fitness journey. Once P90X was done, I kind of wasn't as consistent for a little while. I kind of started in 2011 is when I got serious, and then I graduated high school and then went into university, and I continued my training a little bit there, but I actually lost a lot of my gains during my freshman year. And I remember looking at my body and looking at my core, and it was just flat. I had no more abs, and I was so disgusted with where I had gotten and how I had lost everything that I built. Then the following year, my 2013, 2014 is when I kind of got back on the ball, and there was a little bench in my basement of where I was living. There just happened to be a bench and a bar and stuff. I guess the previous people who lived at this place left this there, and so me and my roommates and my friends, we would go down and we would train in the basement. And I wouldn't say this was a super consistent training period in my life either, but it was, at least I was training a little bit. Then kind of leads me to 2015, 2016 era. And this era is when I actually really started getting really consistent in the gym. And unfortunately, I don't have too many photos or videos to share of this time, but I made really substantial gains. I was living at home, my hometown. I dropped out of university, and at this point I was just training at the gym almost every day. I would say 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days, but usually I'd have a rest day. And so I was doing this for a year or two, very consistently. I ended up getting really ripped, and it was awesome. Then I moved to California in 2016, midway through the year, and by this point I was kind of really excited about starting my yoga journey, because I was feeling so much pain in my body. And this is where when we talk about form is so important in our posture. I had locked myself up into a kind of a poor posture. So while I had a lot of muscle and I looked pretty good, my posture was pretty terrible, and I did not feel confident with the way I looked. I would look at photos of me, and I was kind of hunchbacked a bit, and I just really didn't like the way I looked in photos, and it was really upsetting. So For me, the cure to all of this was yoga. And I really delved deep into yoga after my first music festival in California in Joshua Tree. It was called Bhakti Festival. It's a yoga, kirtan, mindfulness, consciousness, spiritual type of a festival. And the first person I met in the festival became my yoga teacher in the long run. And I was so blessed to have met my yoga teacher, my beloved friend Newton. I love him so much. He really took me under his wing and he would let me do free classes at his yoga studio. So I just started doing tons of yoga and not really focusing on training too much at this point in time. And it felt amazing. I felt just liberation in my body. I felt the bliss of what it is like to be in a yoga class, to delve deeper into meditation. So I would say around the time like 2017, 2018, I got back into doing some calisthenics and some training. Not hardcore, but I was training and enjoying it. One of my first jobs in California was being a janitor at an LA Fitness. So I would work out, when I wasn't working. So during this time, and I'd say like end of 2016, towards the end of 2016, I was working at a gym as a janitor and working out in my free time at the gym. Then that job only lasted a few months. So then after that, I really wasn't using the gym and I really stuck just to calisthenics and occasional weight training. Fast forward a few years to like 2018. By this time, I had made a pretty substantial shift in my posture with my yoga, and I'll clip little bits of me doing splits and different yoga things in this video so you can kind of see the progression I was making. I was doing lots of handstands, arm balances, and this started to create pretty substantial strength without really even trying too hard. I was just having fun moving my body and not focusing on kind of like destroying my muscles. I started working a lot on my splits during 2018. So my splits, I really wanted to get that because in martial arts, having open hips and flexibility, range of motion in the legs is super important for kicks. I enjoyed the bliss of melting into splits. This was part of my yoga practice and I was just really going deep with yoga. And I have been going deep with yoga ever since 2016. So I've been a yogi now for 6 years. It's crazy. It's really done wonders for my form and my foundation so that I can build on top of that. All the way back in 2017, I started getting really good at arm balances. So I could go from like an L sit to a handstand all the way back in 2017 when I was in massage school. So that was a really cool milestone to have reached so far back in my career of just exploring the capabilities in my body. By 2018, 2019, I was doing float handstand presses or pike press. It just felt really amazing. And at this point in my journey, what I'm doing right now, current day, and what I have been doing lately is martial arts. So in 2018, towards the end of the year, I had gotten a lot into Qigong as well as yoga. My good friend Travis was teaching me Qigong and I really just loved it. It was a really beautiful way to kind of contract, or it's all about contracting your muscles, doing different kinds of movements. It could be hard or soft and really peaceful. And I found myself really in love with hard Qigong because it was actually strengthening my body just by creating my own resistance, not even doing like an exercise like a push-up or a pull-up, but just sheer kind of isometric movements in a way, creating pressure within your body. This definitely was something that helped me establish a lot of strength, even though there really are no like reps per se. So yeah, in 2018, I met my Qigong master. I moved to Hawaii for 4 months and I learned with him, and I did what I would consider the hardest practice I've ever done, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. This was the hardest practice that I have ever done. I did 100 days of it, and then since then, I sometimes do little bits of the practice, but I haven't done like a full routine of that actually since then, because it is just so hard. And I'm just also focused on different types of training now. But I was pretty much doing breath work and holding the breath, and then doing intense muscle contraction, or like, really pushing lots of chi through the body. And this definitely helped me make gains. And while I was in Hawaii as well, I was doing lots of yoga and calisthenics, and even a little bit of weight training. So this was a really good time in my development. And so this brings us to 2019. I continued my Qigong practice, and I was doing freeform Kung Fu. And then the pandemic kind of hit, and I was doing lots of massage therapy, lots of calisthenics training. I was furloughed from my work, and I now had the opportunity to come to Sedona, Arizona, which is where I live now. I initially visited my friend, and when I was living with my friend, we were doing lots of training. I would go to the park and do my splits practice, my Qigong and Kung Fu freeform practice, and I was keeping up doing lots of calisthenics. Not really much weight training at all. That kind of brings us closer to the modern day time right now. So I ended up finding a Kung Fu teacher here in Sedona, and I trained with him pretty much every week. I was going there, and I was learning new things, new ways to do calisthenics, different types of push-ups, finger push-ups, three-fingered, like leopard push-ups. I was learning all sorts of different ways to kind of add an edge onto the calisthenics that I was already doing. So that really kind of upgraded my fitness. And in addition to all the training I was doing on my own, when I go to Kung Fu, it would kind of throw me out of my normal workout routine into a state of, I guess you could say, muscle confusion. And that was definitely really helpful in developing my body and my physique and my skill as a martial artist. What I've been doing now in 2022, 2021, and 2022 is really the same thing. Lots of calisthenics, stretching, mobility work, yoga, some martial arts tricking. So I learned to do backflips, and I could do the straddle planche, which I'll show here. I kind of achieved a lot of pretty awesome milestones. I've been doing jiu-jitsu recently, and jiu-jitsu has been really fun for me. I've been going really consistently for about 6 or 7 months. Unfortunately, my jiu-jitsu studio has closed, so I'm reevaluating if I'm even going to continue doing jiu-jitsu, because if I want to, I'm going to have to make a long commute. And I'm really just thinking that I'm going to start really taking my bodybuilding practice, training, my yoga, bodybuilding, Qigong, and just focusing on these practices is really what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to get a gym membership again and start hitting the gym like I did back in 2015, 2016 when I went really hard. Because at this point, my form, my posture is really great. So I feel confident in building upon it as it is, and still continuing my stretching, my yoga, because I know how key it is to keep my body in alignment. If you don't lengthen and align your body, then you're actually going to compact it, shrivel it up, and it's going to create a lot of pain and tension. And I'm really excited to see what kind of new levels I can take my physique to, because I've already attained a pretty amazing physique. I'm so proud of myself for all of the work I've put out through this journey. And I'm just excited to continue making these gains. And I am super committed to always being natural and never using anything like steroids. Now's probably a good time for me to talk a little bit about nutrition and supplements. So I never really believed in taking pre-workout. It's always been something that I always aspired to being natty, even like when it takes to taking pre-workout. I never really wanted to rely on pre-workout or take it. I remember using it way back when I first started weight training in my journey with my friend, and it didn't make me feel good and felt like my heart was about to bounce out of my chest. And while there was something thrilling to this experience and I kind of liked it, and I have used pre-workout very occasionally, very few times, and I've had some positive experience, but ultimately I think willpower trumps everything. So honestly, your willpower is even greater than the input that you're putting in your body, than the food and the nutrition you're taking in. Your willpower really is the most important thing. So training is the most important thing, and refining the diet is so key, because if you're trying to lose weight especially, you're gonna have to adjust your diet even a little bit. Doesn't mean you need to cut out any of the foods you actually really like, even junk foods. You can still have a little bit of junk food, so long as you're kind of minimizing your calorie intake a little bit. Obviously, eating more nutrient dense foods is gonna help you. I do really enjoy eating clean, and that being said, I also eat cookies, ice cream, candies when I feel like it. I'm not the most disciplined, and honestly, with nutrition, I do have a ways to go. But for the most part, I do eat really good whole foods, and I do a lot of intermittent fasting. I use really good supplements, and I would just real quick with the supplements, you don't have to get too hardcore about supplements, but I recommend turmeric, which is good for inflammation, good for the joints, glucosamine, MSM, chondroitin. I take a supplement that has all three of these. If you guys want more information, I can create a whole separate video on supplements. But I take this for my joints because I do so much movement, and I really believe that in the long run, you want to keep your joints really healthy. So yeah, I use collagen and some silica and creatine and protein after a workout. So it's pretty straightforward what I use. I don't use anything that crazy or out of the ordinary. The most important thing really is just being consistent, eating healthy, and then if you really need to treat yourself with snacks, if you're training, don't worry about it. You can do that. You don't need to be a robot, and you don't need to starve yourself. If you're training hard, you're gonna lose weight. But yeah, my situation's different. I was very skinny, and I actually wanted to eat more and all these things, and I had a very high metabolism. So for you, you might be slightly bigger body type, a mesomorph or an endomorph, and these body types, you might have to just limit your calorie intake a little bit. Just be mindful of what you're eating, because honestly, we overeat so much. As a society, you really don't need that much. But when you're training hard, you definitely need to make sure you're getting protein, good fats, good carbohydrates, and your body, your blood type is super important to keep in mind. Whatever your blood type is, do some research on what foods are optimal for your blood type. If you don't know your blood type, do a blood type test. I'm A positive, so I kind of have a pretty good idea of what foods do well with me. But honestly, I eat whatever I want. I don't keep track of calories, and that's not an issue for me. But if weight loss is your goal, do be very mindful about what you're putting in your body. Eat whole foods, and make sure when you're treating yourself, you don't binge too hard, because it's gonna make it a little bit slower to make gains. But yeah, everybody just keep training, keep showing up. There's gonna be hurdles along the way, so do whatever you gotta do to stay consistent. If that is taking a photo every day, or having someone hold you accountable, I don't know, just come up with some way to be consistent. If your willpower is there and you have the will to make gains, you're gonna do it. So just enjoy the journey. You're gonna be so surprised at how fast you see gains. When I first started, I was seeing gains so quickly. So it's just very important to keep moving. Don't give up. You got this. I believe in you. Thank you so much for watching this video. That about wraps it up. If you enjoyed this, please show your support with a like, a comment, subscribe for more. I'm really excited to continue putting out awesome videos, and my content is just gonna get better over time. I wanna get better with my editing and all the things. So yeah, I'm gonna keep showing up, staying consistent, and yeah, I'll see you later. Much love, blessings, peace.